Alright, so I watched MaXXXine, and this is like sort of the finale to the X Trilogy from Ty West that brought us X and Pearl, and even with this movie to kind of wrap up the story and for Mia Goth's character, as like this is said in like 80s Hollywood with a killer on the loose, and even with MaXXXine, that as like trying to figure out this murder and like even making connections to her past as well. And so this will be my full non-spoiler review for the movie and talk about what I thought and the horror elements and sort of with my thoughts on the trilogy overall and how it led to this point, especially with big reveals and so much more. And so if you're new here, then be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so on any future videos including like this. But now let's talk about it. And now, if you guys know the X Trilogy with X and Pearl, and even with Pearl, that had Mia Goth playing the old lady from the very first movie, and even though I was really impressed with what the X Trilogy brought, especially with Ty West for what he had to create in the horror genre, and even that this is from A24 that they make cheap horror movies, and even though I loved X, and especially like as like the old lady with like us stalking all these like people trying to make a slasher and like a porn movie as well. But even though it moved into Pearl with Mia Goth playing like the old lady, and then it transitioned into the third movie, MaXXXine, with Mia Goth playing this character like years. I think this is like years after X, and like she is trying to make it big. She is trying to become an actress in Hollywood. But even though with this killer known as the Night Stalker is going on killing victims, and even with MaXXXine trying to solve this murder mystery and trying to figure out who this killer is, and also it also tries to make connections and to somehow unlock her past for what she's been through, because we all know them from the past two movies, especially with X. But I was really intrigued for what this movie brought, and even with Mia Goth as she's like the definite standout character. I mean, she crushed this role. I mean, she brought this role to life, especially as MaXXXine, and even with her performances in X and Pearl, they were really outstanding. And I hope I wish her like awesome success in her career. But even though for what Mia Goth brought to the role, it was extremely good. And I also like, and even with the feelings and sort of connections, like especially with Hollywood, and especially with these like people are trying to make it big. But like I was really invested into the plot, and I was sort of like impressed for what it delivered. And plus, there are some horror elements that wow, I was really in shock. And now, even though with the rest of the characters that I really touched upon, especially with Halsey, Kevin Bacon, especially with these two detectives right here, but even trying to unfold this type of story, and like even with it being taking place in the old days of Hollywood. And I think so something like a real like crime have happened a long time ago, and like you even know with the Night Stalker and with MaXXXine trying to point out his every move, but you've been trying to link like connections like back to MaXXXine, and especially with her past. But even though like I liked for the plot elements, like, and even though like I enjoyed it as well, and even with Giancarlo Esposito as like I think trying to help MaXXXine and like trying to uncover the mystery of who could be doing this. And I really enjoyed all the horror, especially like, there's some good kills that go down that you should definitely see for yourself. And this was like a nice little neat wrap up to the trilogy to tie the bow on, and like wow, and like even towards like the end of the movie with that final shot. I mean, it's sort of like a cool solid ending, but I think this became one of the the good, great horror trilogies of all time with the X Trilogy, and wow, because this set in the old days of what the horror genre truly represents, and that's what I mostly was invested in. Even though I found it to be a little bit predictable, especially from the start of the movie, but even from start to finish, I was really impressed. I was really intrigued for what the third and final entry delivered, and especially for what it set up for MaXXXine in the first act. And by the time it gets to that big reveal, I was sort of in shock. It's not what you expect, but you should go and see it for yourself. And it definitely, as I said, it has connections to her past. I mean, I definitely liked its third act, and how MaXXXine is handled as sort of this a woman that's trying to make it in Hollywood, but even after what she's been through in her past, being haunted by the old lady, and now being in Hollywood, and now with the Night Stalker trying to kill her, but even though I like. It was a very good, solid ending, and I did enjoy its pacing. It kind of slows down a little bit, but there's some neat, tense scares, and it's neat tenseness to me. And there's some really scary moments, but there's some definitely good moments to enjoy. And even though it takes you around throughout the old days of Hollywood with sets, and even trying to figure out all these murders, and even with having more stories about the Night Stalker, and I really enjoyed everything I could possibly want, and I really enjoyed this trilogy, even though with X and Pearl, and which I somehow enjoyed. But even though I enjoyed every part of this movie, and I think with fans that if you enjoyed X and Pearl, you will definitely love the end of the trilogy. And I found myself invested in every part, and Mia Goth absolutely delivers. And wow, I was impressed actually. And so to kind of wrap this all up is, I enjoyed MaXXXine. I really enjoyed the X Trilogy, and I think that this was a neat wrap up the tie on the bow to this sort of a trilogy that Ty West has made. And I think for what he did with his directing style, and for the aesthetics, for what he wanted to deliver, especially in the horror genre field. And this is exactly what horror is about, especially in the old days, and with MaXXXine trying to make it big in Hollywood. I liked it every single way. Again, I think it's an average to higher rating, but again, I enjoyed this trilogy, and I think this will go down as one of the the good, amazing horror trilogies of all time. I don't know if I'm calling it out, but again, I enjoyed the movie, and if you are a fan of the X Trilogy, you'll definitely like this third and final entry, and you'll be impressed for what this movie has to offer to you as well. But so that's going to do it for this video. Just let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you've seen MaXXXine, or if you plan on seeing it, and give me a rating between 1 out of 10, especially if you've seen it. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe and turn on notifications for future videos. And also follow all my social medias, all of which are linked down below, including my Patreon. And with that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.